F off, Barbara. Get out. Imagine pouring your life savings, $75,000, into your only son's dream wedding at Maine's Ocean View Hotel, only for his bride, Sophia, to scream in my face, F off. Barbara, get out! 100 guests freeze, staring as my heart rips apart, bleeding from betrayal. My own son, James, just stands there, silent, while I clutch the purse holding the check that paid for it all. Want to know what I did next? You won't believe it. I've given everything for my son, James. For 25 years, I raised him alone in our small Bar Harbor home, scraping by on a nurse's salary after his dad walked out. 2 jobs, 16-hour shifts, missing Christmases to cover his college tuition at the University of Maine. All so he could have a future I never did. When James proposed to Sophia, I wanted their wedding to be perfect, a fairy tale at the Ocean View Hotel, Maine's finest. I poured $75,000 from my retirement savings into it. The Vera Wang dress Sophia demanded. I paid for it. The lobster feast for 100 guests. My check. The live jazz band playing Sinatra. My signature on every contract. I thought I was giving them a gift, a memory to cherish. But that night, as Sophia's venomous words, F off, Barbara, echoed in the banquet hall, James didn't move. My boy, the one I'd sacrificed everything for, just stared at the floor like a stranger. James, I whispered, my voice cracking. Say something. Silence. My hands trembled, gripping the purse with that $75,000 check. Every guest's stare burned into me. But none hurt like his betrayal. I stumbled out, the weight of 25 years crashing down. How could my own son let her humiliate me? In that moment, alone in the cold Maine night, I felt my heart fracture. But something darker was coming, something that would tear it apart completely. I staggered out of the Ocean View Hotel's glittering banquet hall, Sophia's venomous, F off, Barbara, still ringing in my ears like a gunshot. The Maine night was bitter, the salty sea air cutting through my thin shawl as I collapsed into my car in the darkened parking lot. My hands shook, clutching the steering wheel, the purse with that $75,000 check lying limp in my lap. 25 years of sacrifice, 2 jobs, missed holidays, a drained retirement fund had led to this. My only son, James, standing silent as his bride humiliated me before 100 guests. I wanted to scream, to sob, but the tears wouldn't come. Not yet. My phone buzzed in the cup holder, a harsh glow in the dark. A text from James. Mom, don't make a scene. Sophia's just stressed. Stressed? The word hit like a slap. I'd poured my life into their fairy tale, and he reduced my pain to a tantrum. James, I muttered to myself, voice breaking. How could you? Then another buzz. An email notification, forwarded from a family friend who'd been at the rehearsal. My stomach churned as I opened it. It was a screenshot of a group chat, Sophia's name at the top. Barbara's such a control freak, she'd written to her bridesmaids. Some pathetic old hag throwing her money around to feel important. My breath caught, each word slicing deeper than the last. Pathetic? I'd worked 16-hour shifts at the hospital, skipped vacations, and sold my mother's heirloom necklace to fund James's college. All for him. For them. And this was how she saw me? A pathetic hag? My chest tightened, the air in the car suffocating. I wanted to call James, to demand answers, but my fingers froze over the screen. He'd stood there, eyes on the floor, letting Sophia tear me apart. He'd chosen her. Then, another notification, a credit card alert. I opened my banking app, expecting a routine update. But what I saw stopped my heart. A $30,000 charge to a luxury resort in Hawaii, booked under my American Express for a honeymoon package with private cabanas and champagne dinners. The booking date was 3 weeks ago, when I'd been sitting across from Sophia at a cafe in Bar Harbor, discussing floral arrangements over coffee. She'd smiled, thanked me for my generosity, all while secretly siphoning my money for a trip she never mentioned. My vision blurred, not with tears, but with a rage so raw, it felt like my blood was boiling. "How dare you?" I whispered, my voice trembling in the empty car. I scrolled further. $2,500 for a spa day, $1,800 for designer luggage, all charged to my card. They weren't just ungrateful, they were thieves. I dialed James, my hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. "Mom?" His voice came through, cautious, like he knew he'd crossed a line. "James," I said, my voice low, barely containing the fury. "Did you know Sophia used my card for a $30,000 honeymoon? For spa days? For luggage?" A long pause. Then, a week. "She said we'd pay you back when I get my raise." A raise? He was a junior accountant, barely making $50,000 a year. "You let her steal from me," I spat, "and you stood there while she told me to F off at your wedding." Another pause. "Mom, you're blowing this out of proportion," he mumbled. "Blowing it out of proportion?" The word snapped something inside me. My son, the boy I'd raised alone, had become a stranger defending a woman who'd spit in my face. I hung up, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. I stared into the darkness beyond the windshield, the ocean's distant roar mocking my pain. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every dollar I'd poured into their happiness, it meant nothing. They'd used me, mocked me, and discarded me like trash. The pain was beyond tears, beyond screams. It was a hollow, searing ache, like my soul had been carved out. I wasn't just a mother betrayed, I was a fool. But as the cold Maine wind rattled the car windows, something shifted. A spark of fury, sharper than grief, began to burn. They thought they could break me, and still dance in their fairy tale. They were wrong. I gripped my phone, my fingers steady now, and opened the contact for the Ocean View's wedding planner. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The Maine night pressed against my car windows. The ocean's roar a distant taunt as I sat in the Ocean View Hotel's parking lot. My phone still glowing with the $30,000 Hawaii charge. Sophia had slapped on my credit card. My heart was a raw, bleeding wound, torn open by James's weak excuses. "She said we'd pay you back." And Sophia's venomous words, "F off, Barbara," echoing in my skull. 25 years of sacrifice, of stitching together a life for my son with my own worn hands, had crumbled in one night. I'd been their bank, their fool, and they'd laughed behind my back, calling me a pathetic hag. The pain wasn't just betrayal, it was a bone-deep realization that I'd poured my soul into people who saw me as nothing but a paycheck. But in that cold, lonely car, something snapped. The grief hardened into a fury so fierce it felt like a storm brewing in my chest. No more. They thought they could humiliate me and still waltz through their fairy tale wedding on my dime. They were about to learn who Barbara Thompson really was. I gripped my phone, my fingers no longer trembling but steady, fueled by a rage that burned hotter than my tears. I opened the contact for Emily, the Ocean View's wedding planner, my thumb hovering over the call button. For a moment, doubt flickered, could I really do this to my own son? But then I saw Sophia's smug face, James's averted eyes, and that $30,000 charge flashing like a neon sign. I hit call. "Emily," I said, my voice low and cold as the Maine wind. "This is Barbara Thompson. I'm canceling everything for the Thompson Walsh wedding." A pause crackled on the line. "Barbara, are you sure?" she asked, her tone cautious, professional. "The contracts are in your name, but this is so last minute. The deposits." "I'm sure," I cut her off, my words sharp as a blade. "If I'm not welcome at this wedding, neither is my money. Cancel the venue, the catering, the band, every single thing." Emily hesitated, then said, "Understood. I'll start the process." Click. The silence after felt like a victory, small but sharp. I didn't stop there. My fingers flew across the phone, pulling up contacts for the florist, the caterer, the jazz band I'd hired to play Sophia's favorite Sinatra tunes. "This is Barbara Thompson," I told the florist, my voice steady now, like steel forged in fire. "I'm the contract holder for the Thompson Walsh wedding. Cancel it. Effective immediately." A stunned pause. "Ma'am, there's a cancellation fee." "I paid the deposit," I said, cutting through their stammering. "I'm within my rights." "Do it." The caterer got the same call. Then the photographer, each conversation fueling a fire inside me. With every call, I felt my spine straighten, my heart pounding not with pain but with purpose. This wasn't just about money. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my power, myself. They'd expected me to roll over, to keep writing checks while they spit in my face. Not anymore. I leaned back in the driver's seat, the purse with that $75,000 check still in my lap, now a symbol of my resolve. The ocean's waves crashed in the distance, a rhythm that matched the pulse of my anger. I pictured Sophia's face tomorrow, her designer dress useless, her lobster feast gone, her perfect Instagram moment reduced to ashes. And James, my James, who'd stood silent as his bride tore me apart, would see what it meant to choose her over me. "You made your choice," I whispered to the empty car, my voice a mix of ice and fire. "Now, live with it." My phone buzzed again. James, probably, or maybe Sophia, ready to beg or blame. I didn't answer. Let them stew. Let them panic. The wedding they'd built on my back was about to collapse, and I was the one pulling the plug. But this was just the beginning. They hadn't seen the full weight of what was coming. The dawn broke over Bar Harbor, the pale Maine sunlight glinting off the ocean like a cruel reminder of the fairy tale wedding that would never happen. I sat at my kitchen table, a cold cup of coffee untouched, the weight of last night's calls to the Ocean View Hotel, the florist, the caterer, and the band settling into my bones. I'd pulled the plug on James and Sophia's $75,000 dream, every contract canceled with my name, my money, my power. They'd thought they could humiliate me, Sophia's "F off, Barbara," still burned in my ears and keep their perfect day. They were wrong. My phone stayed silent, but I knew the storm was coming. By 8 a.m., it hit. A pounding on my front door shook the quiet house. "Mom, open the door." James's voice was raw, desperate, laced with a panic I'd never heard before. I didn't move. Let him feel the weight of his choices, just as I'd felt the sting of his silence when Sophia tore me apart in front of 100 guests. The knocking grew louder, frantic. "Mom, please, you can't do this," James shouted, his voice cracking. I stood, my bare feet cold on the hardwood floor, and peered through the blinds. His hair was a mess, his eyes wild, like a man watching his world crumble. "Good." I stayed still, my heart a steel vault, locked against his pleas. "You did this to yourself," I whispered to the empty room, my voice low, steady, a far cry from the trembling wreck I'd been in the parking lot last night. The knocking stopped, replaced by the screech of tires as James's car peeled out of my driveway. I exhaled, the silence heavy but empowering. They were learning what it meant to cross me. My phone lit up with notifications, a barrage of texts and voicemails. Sophia's name flashed first. "Barbara, how could you?" Her voicemail hissed, her sugary tone gone, replaced by venom. "You're destroying our lives. Everyone's coming tomorrow, and now there's nothing." I let it play, her voice rising to a shrill crescendo. "You're a selfish, bitter woman." Click. Selfish? After I drained my retirement for her Vera Wang dress, her lobster feast, her jazz band. I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that echoed in the kitchen. Then came the Instagram alert. Sophia had posted a tear-streaked video, her mascara artfully smudged, clutching a tissue like a prop. My mother-in-law canceled our entire wedding. She sobbed to the camera. Out of spite, out of jealousy. She's trying to ruin the happiest day of our lives. Not a word about her F-off outburst. Not a mention of the $30,000 Hawaii trip she'd charged to my card. The comments poured in, her friends calling me a monster, a toxic hag. My chest tightened, not with pain now, but with a cold, righteous fury. I called Emily, the Ocean View's wedding planner, to confirm. "It's done, Barbara," she said. Her voice clipped but professional. "The venue's already booked for another couple tomorrow. The caterer's canceled, the florist too. The band's off the hook." I nodded, though she couldn't see me. "Thank you," I said, my voice calm, like the still sea before a storm. Every cancellation was a brick pulled from their castle, and I was the one wielding the sledgehammer. I pictured Sophia's face when she realized her Pinterest-perfect wedding was gone. No flowers, no Tom Home, no Sinatra. And James, my spineless son, would stand there, just as he had at the rehearsal, with nothing to say. "They wanted me gone," I said to the empty kitchen, my fingers tracing the edge of the coffee mug. "Now they've got nothing." Another text buzzed in, my sister-in-law, Linda, this time. "Barbara, what's going on? James says you canceled everything. Call me." I ignored it. Then my ex-husband, Tom, James's father, who hadn't spoken to me in years. "Barb, you're going too far. Don't ruin their day." Ruin their day? Where was he when Sophia screamed at me? Where was he when I worked double shifts to raise his son? I tossed the phone onto the table, the screen flashing with more messages I wouldn't read. They all thought I'd cave, that I'd be the bigger person and write another check. They didn't know the Barbara who'd emerged last night, forged in betrayal and rage. This wasn't just about a wedding anymore. It was about respect, about drawing a line in the sand. They'd pushed me too far, and now their perfect little world was crumbling. But I wasn't done. Another email was about to land in my inbox, one that would reveal a betrayal even deeper than I'd imagined, and it would light a fire I couldn't contain. The morning sun crept through my kitchen blinds in Bar Harbor, casting sharp shadows across the table where my untouched coffee sat, a bitter mirror to the storm raging inside me. Sophia's tearful Instagram video, painting me as a spiteful monster, still burned in my mind, her crocodile tears masking the $30,000 Hawaii honeymoon she'd charged to my card. James's desperate banging on my door, his weak pleas to fix the wedding I'd canceled, echoed like a fading echo of the son I once knew. I'd torn down their $75,000 fairy tale, every contract for the Ocean View Hotel, the lobster feast, the jazz band, because they thought they could spit in my face and still dance on my dime. But as I sat there, the embers of my fury still glowing, a new email notification lit up my phone. And what I found next wasn't just betrayal, it was a calculated heist that cut deeper than Sophia's F-off ever could. The email was from my bank, a fraud alert. My heart sank as I opened it, expecting another unauthorized charge. Instead, it was worse. A $10,000 withdrawal from the college savings account I'd set up for James 20 years ago, a fund I thought he'd forgotten, drained just last month. The transaction note read, "Custom diamond ring Walsh engagement." My breath caught, my hands trembling as I pictured Sophia's smug smile, flashing a glittering rock paid for with my money. Without a word to me, I called the bank, my voice shaking with a mix of rage and disbelief. "Ma'am," the clerk said. The withdrawal was authorized by James Thompson, co-signer on the account. Co-signer. The word hit like a punch. I'd kept that account open as a safety net for him, a symbol of my endless support, and he'd used it to buy his fiancée a trophy while letting her humiliate me. "Close it," I snapped. "Freeze everything. Now." The clerk hesitated. "Are you sure, Mrs. Thompson?" "Do it," I said, my voice cold as the Maine winter. Click. I was still reeling when another email popped up. This one from a Boston wedding planner I'd never heard of. The subject line, Thompson Walsh Reception Confirmation. My stomach twisted as I opened it. Dear Miss Thompson, it read, we're excited to confirm your $15,000 deposit for the secondary reception at the Boston Harbor Hotel, as requested by Sophia Walsh. A secondary reception? In Boston? My mind raced back to the cafe meeting 3 weeks ago. Sophia sipping latte, gushing about keeping things simple, while secretly planning another lavish party with my money. The email included a guest list 150 names, none of them mine. I wasn't invited. They'd planned to celebrate again, on my dime, without me. My vision blurred, not with tears, but with a white-hot anger that made my hands shake. You thought you could play me twice? I whispered, my voice a low growl. I dialed my lawyer, Susan Miller, a no-nonsense woman who'd handled my divorce years ago. Susan, I said, my voice steady but burning. It's Barbara. They've gone too far. James drained $10,000 from our joint account for a ring, and Sophia's planning a second wedding in Boston with my money. I want a cease and desist letter sent to both of them: harassment, defamation, theft. Susan's voice was calm, sharp. Barbara, you've got every right. Those accounts, those contracts, they're all in your name. They don't have a leg to stand on. I'll draft the letters today. Certified mail to Sophia, James, and their parents. I exhaled, the weight of her words grounding me. And Susan, I added, I want my money back, every cent they stole. Consider it done, she replied. They'll regret crossing you. I hung up, my pulse pounding like a drum. The audacity of it: $10,000 for a ring, $15,000 for a secret party. All while Sophia smeared me online as a jealous hag. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd orchestrated a scheme, banking on my silence, my love for James, to keep me compliant. But love has limits. And the late morning light filtered through my Bar Harbor kitchen, glinting off the cold coffee mug I hadn't touched since yesterday's warpath. My phone buzzed relentlessly, a storm of notifications piling up after I'd dismantled James and Sophia's $75,000 wedding at the Ocean View Hotel and uncovered their betrayal, a $30,000 Hawaii honeymoon charge to my card, a $10,000 diamond ring siphoned from our joint account, and a secret $15,000 Boston reception planned without my name on the guest list. Sophia's venomous, F off Barbara, still seared my ears, matched only by James's spineless silence and their audacity to smear me as a jealous monster on Instagram. But now, as I sat in the quiet of my home, the tide was turning. The truth, sharp and unforgiving, was clawing its way out, and the community was waking up to the real story. I wasn't the villain here, Sophia and James were, and their house of cards was about to collapse under the weight of their own lies. It started with a Facebook post from my cousin Mary, a no-nonsense retiree who'd been at the rehearsal dinner. Barbara Thompson paid for every inch of that wedding, she wrote, her words blazing across my screen. Sophia screamed at her to F off in front of everyone, and James just stood there. Shame on them. The post exploded, shared by neighbors, old friends, even the local church group, racking up 200 likes in an hour. Comments poured in. Unbelievable. How could they treat her like that? And Barbara's a saint for putting up with them. My chest tightened, not with pain now, but with a strange electric thrill. For the first time, people saw me not the pathetic hag Sophia mocked in her group chat, but the mother who'd bled her savings dry for her son's happiness. Then came the Reddit thread, posted on a main wedding forum by an Ocean View hotel staffer. I worked the Thompson Walsh wedding setup, it read. Sophia acted like a diva, barking orders while Barbara signed every contract and paid every bill. When Sophia screamed at her, Barbara left in tears, and the son didn't say a word. Now they're blaming her for canceling? Disgusting. The thread went viral, with hundreds of upvotes and comments tearing into Sophia's hypocrisy. "Who charges a $30,000 honeymoon to someone else's card?" one user wrote. "Entitled brats," said another. "I didn't post or comment, I didn't need to." The truth was spreading like wildfire, and every share felt like a brick falling from Sophia's carefully curated Instagram facade. Sophia tried to fight back. Another video appeared on her Instagram, her eyes red, voice quivering with rehearsed anguish. "Barbara's lies are tearing us apart," she sobbed to her followers. "She canceled our wedding to punish us, to control us. We just wanted our day. Not a word about the Hawaii charge, the ring, or the Boston party." The audacity made my blood boil. But her followers weren't buying it anymore. A new comment popped up under her video. "Didn't Barbara pay for everything? Why'd you tell her to F off?" Another. "You used her credit card for a honeymoon." Classy. The tide had turned. Sophia's friends, once quick to call me toxic, went silent. Strangers on X piled on, one tweeting, "Sophia and James thought they could fleece Barbara and keep their Pinterest wedding. Karma's real." Hashtags like #Justice for Barbara started trending locally, each one a small victory. I leaned back in my chair, my fingers tracing the edge of my phone. For years, I'd swallowed my pain to keep the peace, thinking love meant sacrifice. But now, as the community rallied, their voices echoing my truth, I felt something new. Vindication. "You thought you could bury me," I whispered, my voice steady, fierce. My sister-in-law, Linda, called, her tone hesitant. "Barbara, I didn't know the whole story. I'm so sorry. People are talking, everyone's on your side." I didn't respond. I didn't need her pity. The world was seeing Sophia and James for what they were. Greedy, ungrateful, and desperate. Their guest list was shrinking by the hour, friends unfollowing, relatives distancing themselves. Their dream wedding wasn't just canceled, it was a public disgrace. But even as the truth spread, a quiet unease settled in my gut. I opened my laptop, checking my email for updates from Susan, my lawyer, about the cease and desist letters. A new message waited, not from her, but from an old friend of James's. The subject line made my heart skip. "You need to see this." Whatever was coming next, I knew it would push me further, into a place where peace wasn't just a hope, it was a necessity I'd fight for. The Maine sun hung low over Kennebunkport, painting the ocean in hues of gold and crimson as I sat on the balcony of a seaside inn, a glass of Pinot Grigio in hand, its cool rim pressed against my lips. The weight of the past week, Sophia's vicious F off, Barbara. At the Ocean View Hotel, James's spineless silence, the $30,000 Hawaii honeymoon charged to my card, the $10,000 ring stolen from our joint account, and the secret $15,000 Boston reception had carved a hollow in my chest. But now, as the community's outrage roared across Facebook, Reddit, and X, exposing Sophia and James's greed, I felt something new. Not anger, not pain, but a quiet, unshakable power. I'd torn down their $75,000 fairy tale, sent cease and desist letters through my lawyer Susan Miller, and watched their lies unravel in the court of public opinion. For the first time in years, I wasn't the mother who bent over backward to please. I was Barbara Thompson, and I was free. The inn's balcony overlooked the Atlantic, its waves crashing in a rhythm that matched the steady beat of my heart. I'd booked this getaway on a whim, trading the chaos of Bar Harbor for the serenity of Kennebunkport's rocky shores. No more banging on my door from James. No more venomous voicemails from Sophia. No more pitying calls from relatives like Linda or my ex-husband Tom, begging me to fix their mess. I was done carrying their burdens. I sipped the wine, its crisp tang a small rebellion against the decades I'd spent swallowing my own desires. My phone, resting on the wicker table, lit up with a notification. An email from James. Subject line: "Please, Mom." My fingers hovered. the old instinct to answer tugging at me. "I'm sorry," it read. "We messed up. Can we talk? Sophia's a wreck and I don't know what to do." A wreck? After she'd smeared me online, called me a jealous hag while spending my money? I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that startled a seagull perched nearby. "You're sorry now?" I said to the empty air, my voice low but fierce. I hit delete, the email vanishing like the last thread tying me to the son who'd chosen his bride over me. I opened Instagram, my fingers moving almost on their own. The ocean sparkled before me, a canvas of freedom. I snapped a photo, my wine glass catching the sunset, the horizon stretching endlessly, and typed a caption, "Happiness is choosing yourself." I posted it, not for Sophia or James, not for the gossiping relatives or the ex-users cheering number "Justice for Barbara," but for me. The likes rolled in, but I didn't check them. This wasn't about validation, it was about claiming my life back. For years, I'd been the mother who fixed everything, who paid for James's college, his wedding, his dreams, while he stood silent as Sophia spat in my face. I'd been the fool who thought love meant endless giving. But love has boundaries, and I'd drawn mine in the sand with every canceled contract, every unanswered call. A text buzzed in. Linda again. "Barbara, people are saying such awful things about James and Sophia. Maybe you could talk to them, smooth things over?" I set the phone down, my lips curling into a faint, defiant smile. Smooth things over? I'd spent 25 years smoothing things over, working double shifts, selling heirlooms, draining my retirement for a son who couldn't even look me in the eye when his bride humiliated me. No more. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and freedom, and I breathed it in, deep and slow. I wasn't the woman who'd stumbled out of the Ocean View Hotel, heart shattered, clutching a purse with a $75,000 check. That woman was gone, replaced by someone stronger. Someone who'd learned that respect starts with respecting yourself. My phone buzzed again, a voicemail this time. Sophia's voice, tight and trembling, not with tears but with barely contained rage. "Barbara, you've ruined everything," she hissed. "You think you're some hero? You're just a bitter old woman who can't stand seeing us happy." I deleted it before she could finish, my pulse steady, unshaken. Let her rage. Let James beg. Their words couldn't touch me anymore. I leaned back in the chair, the wine glass cool against my palm, and watched the sun dip below the horizon. The world was shifting, and I was no longer the scapegoat. But as the stars began to speckle the main sky, a new realization settled in, a need to share what I'd learned, to turn this pain into something bigger, something that could lift others up too. The Kennebunkport night was still, the main stars glittering like scattered diamonds over the Atlantic, their light reflecting on the glass of Pinot Grigio I held on my inn's balcony. The chaos of the past week, Sophia's vicious "F off Barbara" at the Ocean View Hotel, James's cowardly silence, the $30,000 Hawaii honeymoon and $10,000 ring charge to my accounts, the secret $15,000. Boston reception had faded into a distant hum. I'd canceled their $75,000 wedding, sent cease and desist letters through my lawyer, Susan Miller, and watched the community unravel their lies on Facebook, Reddit, and X. My Instagram post, "Happiness is choosing yourself," still glowed on my phone, a quiet declaration of the woman I'd become. For 25 years, I'd been the mother who gave everything, draining my retirement, working double shifts, believing love meant sacrifice without limits. But sitting here, with the ocean's whisper in my ears, I understood. Love doesn't mean letting others trample your worth. It means standing tall, drawing boundaries, and choosing yourself when no one else will. I thought back to the woman I was a week ago, stumbling out of the Ocean View, heart shattered, clutching a purse with a $75,000 check. That Barbara believed her role was to fix, to please, to swallow pain for the sake of family. But family isn't a blank check for betrayal. When Sophia screamed at me, when James stood silent, when they stole my money for their luxuries, they showed me who they were. And I showed them who I am, not a doormat, not a wallet, but a woman who'd fought too hard to be discarded. You don't get to use me and call it love. I whispered to the night, my voice soft but unyielding. The pain had been excruciating, a knife twisting with every discovery: the Hawaii charge, the ring, the Boston party, but it forged something stronger. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving, free from the weight of their entitlement. This journey taught me a truth I wish I'd known sooner. Your worth isn't measured by what you give others, but by what you keep for yourself. I started a small project in Bar Harbor, a fund for single mothers like I once was, scraping by to raise James. It's my way of giving back, not out of obligation, but from a place of strength. Every dollar I donate, every story I hear, reminds me that we don't have to break ourselves to be loved. We set boundaries. We say no. We walk away when respect is absent. And in that choice, we find peace. I learned that the hard way, but I'm stronger for it. My balcony view, the wine in my hand, the stars above, they're not just a moment. They're a promise to myself. Never again will I let anyone dim my light. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt used or unseen, I want to hear from you. Share your story in the comments. When did you stand up for yourself? Hit that like button if you believe in choosing your own happiness. And please, subscribe to the Unwanted Revenge. Let's keep telling stories of strength. Together. This isn't just my story. It's a reminder that we all deserve respect. Thank you for listening.